Immanuel Kant's Critique of Pure Reason is one of the monumental works in the history of philosophy. This text was published in 1781 and has significantly impacted the thought processes of modern philosophy in considering human cognition and the nature of reality. It investigates the boundaries and potentials of human reason, explores the base of metaphysics, and lays a foundation for further philosophical questioning. But the logical power of the argument, which makes it interesting, is in the delicate shades in the treatment of human knowledge and perception. Critique of Pure Reason is an investigation into the very nature and limits of human knowledge. Kant divides his book into two main divisions, the transcendental aesthetic and the transcendental logic. Transcendental aesthetic explores how we perceive objects through space and time, while transcendental logic examines how we understand these perceptions using categories of the mind. Kant suggests that the senses condition our experiences, but the mind predetermines the structures of understanding in advance. This dual framework challenges empiricism and rationalism, suggesting that neither sensory experience nor pure reason alone can account for human knowledge. Immanuel Kant, born on April 22, 1724, in Königsberg, Prussia. He spent his entire life in his hometown, a notable hub of intellectual activity. Growing up in a strict pietist household, Kant received his early education at the Collegium Fridericianum and later at the University of Königsberg, which profoundly influenced his philosophical perspective. After a period as a private tutor, he earned his doctorate in philosophy and began to develop his own ideas, drawing from the rationalism of Leibniz and Wolff and the empiricism of Locke and Hume. Kant's critical period started in the 1770s, culminating in the publication of his seminal work, Critique of Pure Reason, in 1781. Kant's investigation into the limits of human knowledge is arguably his most striking theme in Critique of Pure Reason. Known for his distinction between phenomena and noumena, Kant prioritized what can be known from what cannot. Phenomena refers to the world as we experience it, filtered through our senses and cognitive structures. Noumena, on the contrary, refers to things as they are in themselves, independent of our perception. According to Kant, while we can grasp and analyze phenomena, the noumenal world remains an eternally unknowable realm. Why does this matter? Think about how much of our lives we base on the idea that what we perceive as reality is actually out there. In response, Kant argues that our knowledge is necessarily filtered through the inherent structures of the mind itself. This perspective humbles us to accept that we can only ever know in part and through a partial lens. Kant introduces the notion of categories, preconceived conceptual lenses through which we interpret sensory information. These include causality, unity, plurality, and necessity, among others. These categories are not derived from experience, but are the conditions that make experience possible. This idea is revolutionary because it suggests that the mind actively shapes our experience of the world, rather than passively receiving information. Imagine looking at a tree. Kant says that it is not simply that you see a tree as one sensory input. The mind categorizes it and understands it as an object with properties like size, shape, and causality. These categories structure every aspect of our perception. The idea that our understanding of the world is not a straightforward reflection of reality, but a construction mediated by cognitive structures, prompts us to consider how much of our reality is constructed by the mind. Kant's idea of synthetic a priori knowledge addresses a fundamental philosophical dilemma. How can we possess knowledge that is both necessary and informative? Empiricists insisted that all knowledge stems from experience, while rationalists claimed that reason alone can provide necessary truths. Kant's genius lies in proposing that some knowledge, synthetic a priori knowledge, can be both derived from reason and informative about the world. Take the statement, every event has a cause, for instance. We don't derive this solely from experience, as we can't observe every possible event, yet it is essential for our comprehension of the world. According to Kant, this kind of knowledge is feasible because our minds impose specific structures on our experiences. This concept is fundamental to modern science and mathematics, where basic principles are regarded as necessarily true and still informative about the empirical world. Kant famously characterizes his philosophical approach as a Copernican revolution. Just as Copernicus proposed that the Earth revolves around the Sun, Kant suggests that our understanding of the world revolves around our cognitive faculties. Instead of presuming that our knowledge must conform to the external world, Kant argues that the external world must conform to the structures of our cognition. This paradigm shift has profound implications. It implies that the pursuit of knowledge involves not only exploring the external world, but also comprehending the internal workings of the mind. This introspective turn is evident in many later philosophical and scientific developments. Kant explores the dialectical illusions that arise when reason exceeds the boundaries of possible experience. In the Transcendental Dialectic, he investigates the antinomies of pure reason, contradictions that surface when we attempt to apply reason to the totality of the world, such as the origin of the universe or the existence of a necessary being. These antinomies reveal the limitations of pure reason and caution against overstepping the bounds of empirical inquiry. Kant's analysis of these dialectical illusions is a critical warning against dogmatism and speculative metaphysics. It underscores the necessity of recognizing the limits of human knowledge and the dangers of attempting to transcend these limits without empirical grounding. This theme is especially relevant in contemporary debates about the boundaries of scientific and philosophical inquiry. Kant also briefly touches on aesthetics, laying the groundwork for his later work, The Critique of Judgment. He suggests that aesthetic judgment, like knowledge, is structured by innate principles. This connection between aesthetics and cognition opens up a fascinating dialogue about the relationship between beauty, art, and human understanding. How do our cognitive structures shape our appreciation of art? This question continues to resonate in contemporary aesthetic theory and art criticism. Critic of Pure Reason has significantly influenced subsequent philosophy, psychology, and cognitive science, though it is critiqued for its abstract prose, potential ambiguities, and dualistic distinction. Despite these criticisms, Kant's work remains relevant, challenging us to consider the limits of our knowledge and the structures that shape our understanding, emphasizing the importance of empirical grounding and skepticism towards speculative metaphysics. Reflecting on the Critique of Pure Reason, one cannot help but admire Kant's ambitious effort to chart the landscape of human knowledge. His examination of the limits and structures of cognition continues to be a crucial reference for modern philosophical and scientific inquiries. Kant's work prompts us to question the reliability of our perceptions and the frameworks through which we interpret the world. As we navigate an increasingly complex and information-rich society, the themes of Kant's work resonate with ongoing debates about reality, the boundaries of science, and the pursuit of truth. What does it mean to truly know something? How do our inherent biases shape our understanding? These questions, ignited by Kant's seminal work, continue to challenge and inspire us.